sun. Punching out a flag like they're the chosen ones. Clichés and white don't make a color chart. Screw you just for taking part. Think you're a patriot, more like an idiot, a puppet with a swastika on your heart. Wherever I go, it's always winter. And when the sympathetic magic fails again, c'est toujours l'hiver. But can't you believe the ones that leave the guns behind? They're doing business, scams and war crimes. Factory rendition, shelf life. Tracking mirror nuclear half-life. Half-life.
Hello again, it's Void Signal, and I am your host, Brian Prime. This week, I am joined by all four members of Prosector, a transatlantic industrial rivet punk sort of outfit, fusing really fast BPMs, guitars, and a punk ethos with industrial flavors. It's fun and energetic. We get into their origins in synth pop and hardcore, the DIY spirit that fuels their sound, writing politically charged music across oceans, and why sometimes it does take 57 attempts to get something right. Their new single, It's Always Winter, is blistering and available anywhere you can go get music, so enjoy that with your ears when you like. As always, thank you to Johan from Processor for Void Signal's soundtrack. You can name your own price for much of his music at processor2.bandcamp.com. I co-wrote lyrics for a song. You can check out World of Ours by my friend Samtar anywhere music exists. Please enjoy it, and I hope it speaks to you. On the subject of speaking to you, Void Signal is an ad-free program made by a human for the betterment of people. If you'd like to help contribute to that goal, please visit voidsignal.net or patreon.com/voidsignal, and you can help support the continued existence of myself and Void Signal, because I'm going to do this until I can't. Thank you so much for your time and attention in a busy world. As always, I hope that you stay safe, and I hope that you stay loud, especially about the things that you care about. Take care. We'll just go ahead and get started. Welcome to Void Signal. I'm your host, Brian Prime, and I'm joined by Prosector. Let me revisit. Prosector. Am I saying that correctly? I feel like every time I look at it, I'm saying it wrong.
I think that's the idea. It's Prosector.
Prosector. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Makes much more sense. Can you tell me a little bit about where each of one of you has sort of come from to arrive at being in this little art outlet that you have found yourselves in?
Jules, do you want to lead on that?
Let's just let's start with you, Jack. How did you wind up in this? What has prompted you to continue making music?
Are you asking me? My brother was in a band called the Frogs of War back in the 90s, and they were signed to a punk label, Full Circle Records, and I wanted nothing more than to be in that band. And Digby was the coolest, most capable frontman, and he's always been a bit of a hero to me. But don't tell him I said that, because he'd probably get off. And I was more into electronic stuff and industrial stuff. Fetus was always the big thing for me. But I don't know, we got to about 22 or 3 and we wrote some songs together, and we really liked it because he was the front, and he had this punk element that he brought to at the time, everything was kind of harsher, I guess, techno type stuff, or, Frontline Assembly were ripping it up. We wrote music along those veins. But it was different with Digby on the mic, because the punkness that he brought to it is so natural, and it just flows really well. I've always been attracted to this and interested in this aesthetic, or whatever you call it. I started in 1987 when I was 17. I was in a synth pop band called Scanners. And then we regrouped and called it State Jonklaw, and it was much more harder hitting sample stuff. Again, very influenced by punk rock and Fetus and other bands, Devo and whoever else. 2016, I sort of got to know Jules, and we were talking a lot, and we just kind of, to quote Garth Marenghi, we fell in like. And, we were interested in similar things, driving beats, driving rhythms. He comes from the big beat side of things and breaks and stuff. But it's all fast pounding, racing kind of music. And, it still does it for me. And we work this new tempo now, which is, around 160 to 185, and I don't know, it really fits right now. It really works for me, and it's awesome hearing the skeleton of a track bounce back and forth between all of us, and then you get a bit of vocal, a demo, and then you get some massive guitars on it, and it just, I don't know, the vibe. It just keeps you interested and keeps you hungry. You're like, shit, I need to get hold of that because I could just do this with it, And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you just keep doing it until it works.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm Jules, by the way. And we come from sort of similar backgrounds. We like, the sort of similar sort of seed bands that kind of made us think about this kind of music, the sort of Frontline, Cubanate, Nitzareb, all of those bands. We were quite into that stuff. And I was pulling together a compilation for Armalite Records. And it was a 30-track compilation. And one of the submissions to Armalite was from the Prosector. It was Digby on vocals. The track was called Mother Hack. I just remember listening to this track and talking to my colleague on Armalite, Giles Morehouse, and saying to him, have you heard this track? It's just fantastic. And we bounced, I got in contact with Jed and we bounced a few ideas around and we did a little work on it. I was mainly in the post-production side, just doing a bit of mastering for the label. It was so good that we wanted to put it as the first track on the compilation. And then we just got talking about our backgrounds and we kind of discovered that just about everything we did was similar and our likes were similar, even down to the sort of things that we watch on the telly and stuff like that. So we had this kind of Venn diagram of life, if you see what I mean, that kind of collided. And we just got talking and gradually, as things progressed, we started to swap ideas around, didn't we? And it was all about, okay, here's a bass line. What can you do with that? Here's some drums. What can you do with that? And we started swapping ideas around. And that's really where the first Prosector releases came from. And where we are now is quite a sort of long journey progression from that. We've released, I don't know, how many, 4 or 5 EPs now? And each one is a progression of a story. Generally speaking, talking about the state of the world we live in and our view on it. But actually, to those kind of fast beats, and we're getting faster and faster as each release goes by. So we're up at 180 now, something like that. But actually, it's like the band to me feels like a kind of a DIY punk ethic. Sure. It's never perfect, but actually, it's all about the feel.
Yeah,
and that's what keeps us going. Yeah.
Just real quick, that does come across in the music. It does come across as very sort of punk charged. Like if Der Prosector were a battery, it would be charged by punk for sure. And that definitely comes across. And, what a great answer of, dialing in on the strengths of the project versus just, we're going to make this thing and we're going to take the pieces we have and sort of hammer them to make them fit, right? I like the idea of, people working to their natural ability and talents. I have heard the new single. It is excellent. And you guys definitely are dialed in on the sort of punk fire that I feel in the music. And part of the reason that I am familiar with the project is because you guys have been so vocal about politics and social issues and things that people are usually pretty quiet about. Do you think that the sort of punk elements that led you to sort of smash this project together, do you think that lends itself to that sort of transparent, like, this is what we think and who gives a shit if you agree or disagree sort of attitude?
Oh, definitely. I don't like talking about lyrics and dissecting music, but I can talk generally on it. I like to let people take what they want from lyrics, and sometimes it backfires. We had a few people from Eastern Europe who thought we were championing the anti-vax movement. So, it all plays a part. and we're trying to mirror back what the world's throwing at us. And hopefully it gives a bit of solidarity to everyone out there whose psyches are being attacked every time they switch their phone on. It's all done deliberately, I'm sure, to make us defeated and stuff. So I don't want to get upset. I don't want to get angry and spoil the vibe. We're having a nice time.
Sure. Yeah, no.
But it's done in two ways, because I'm not the only vocalist. Jed also sings half the songs or more than half, and he writes about how the real world is. And my song, it's a dichotomy. My songs are about a dystopia that reflects the current world that Jed is singing about. So my songs are all characters that do terrible things, while Jed's songs are real world about terrible things that are happening. So yeah, the punk works in both halves of the writing.
Sure.
What keeps me going is I know you don't like talking about the lyrics so much, Jed and Digby, but it's the one thing that keeps me going is that, when we're writing the structure of a song, I'm always wondering how this is going to translate into the storylines that we produce. So, and Digby's absolutely right. There are two sides to it. Jed is talking in the real world, and Digby develops characters in his world that are doing awful things, and it's when we're writing a song, it's quite a surprise to come up with the lyrics and work through it, and it does tend to drive the way that we structure the songs significantly. But it's one of the things that is exciting about this band is in that it's not, as you say, it's not sitting there saying nothing. What we're saying is, look, this is the world we live in. Love it or hate it, this is the world we live in, and we are going to put a narrative around it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's actually quite important. There's always the chance that you're going to get cancelled or whatever might happen. But actually, I think some things need to be said, and if it works to that that kind of punk fast beat environment, that makes it even more kind of poignant. It gives it that kind of push.
Yeah, I do agree with you, and I think that it's time is short, and attention spans are even shorter. So it's definitely important, I feel, to sort of front load the message of just like, hey, this is where we're at, and this is what we feel, and this is what we think. I think it's just how more people should kind of be, is just kind of like, this is what's pressing. This is what is relevant. This is what is, it is coming out of me at this moment, regardless of whether the world is prepared for it or not. We don't see a lot of industrial bands in, classical sense of like more than one person. Like we encounter a lot of bedroom producers in our scene. And I don't mean that term as a slight by any means, but just I'm curious as to, you are 4 individuals living in 4 different locations. Can you tell me a little bit about the coming together to produce music, of overcoming your sort of geographical boundaries to kind of come back together and do this thing that you obviously all care about it?
Never have all 4 of us been in the same room at the same time. It's a maximum of 3 people I've ever met in real life.
Gotcha.
I've never met Digby.
I need to introduce myself.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm Jed Denton's brother. That is an in-joke from when I went to England and first met Jules and Andy and Giles, a Cubanated, because I'm not from an industrial background, so I didn't know anybody. Nobody knew who I was. Mm. And so quite a few times I was introduced as Jed Denton's brother, and then, everybody go with me. That's just an in-joke. And I wouldn't get back to the question with that.
No, thank you for sharing. I'm excited to know that you were Jed Denton's brother. What a privilege. What an honor on my part.
Yes.
It's good.
But,
so from an American standpoint, I fly down to Jed to do vocal.
Okay. And I mean, how does that affect your creative process for putting these things together? Like, what kind of barriers or obstacles do you find it has been to just producing music?
I think the distance is not a major issue. The only thing I'd say is that Digby goes down to see Jed to do the vocals, and there's a degree of developmental kind of process going on there, which is only really available when you're sitting with somebody. You're developing something in real time. If you're working over the internet, you're developing things in stage time. You're producing something, sending it to somebody. There's an incremental change that comes back. Whereas if you're sitting with somebody and developing something, it's far more, I would say, rewarding from a sort of interactive point of view. So in the UK, Andy and I tend to work together. So we'll have a skeleton of a track over from Jed, for example, and we'll start working together on how we think, this thing can progress from a kind of instrumental and guitar kind of perspective, and then then there will be another increment back when we send it back to the US for a bit more development, and what will come back is something very different. I think that if we were all in the same room, let's say somebody chained us into a room and locked the door for 2 months, I think there would be an album or two coming out of that room. Whereas we tend to work at a pace that reflects the kind of technical barriers that we've got. In terms of the actual technical side of it, we've all got the same software and all of that kind of stuff. So actually, there's nothing stopping us doing what we do. It's just that human element that we don't get from being 3,500 miles apart,
Sure. And do you think that sort of, obviously kind of slows down the work maybe a little bit, but do you think that you wind up with a more refined product? But do you think that it does end up making the final product a little bit better because of the sort of slower pace that's attached to it? Or do you think it would be better with like a quicker pace?
I think from my perspective, when I'm stood in front of the mic and then I have to listen back to it, I'm always concerned about what the UK contingent think about it while I'm doing it. It's hard.
You're just Jed Henson's brother. Like, what do you know?
Yeah.
But I think the positive actually is that because we're all of a certain age, I'll be careful how I say that because I think I might be the oldest one here. But if we're all of a certain age, and I think with that age comes a bit of maturity. Right, so when Jed or Digby come up with something, and it's always quite concerning to come up with something and fire it into the ether, waiting for somebody to come back and tell you what they think of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's always that kind of fear going on. But actually, because of the age and maturity that we've got, we can take things from the US to here, and we'll develop on what we've got. Okay, and if there's anything that needs to be changed or refined or whatever, we're mature enough to have that conversation. So although Digby might find it daunting, actually what we always look at is if something comes to us, it's something for development, or it's something that can grow. And I think that's the way I would want to think that you Digby would think about it, because actually we don't think anything's crap. We can write music around most things, and actually none of your stuff's crap anyway, so it doesn't matter. Back in the day, you'd come up with a bass line and then you dump it somewhere because you think it's rubbish. But why did you write it? Why did you do it? There's some spark in there somewhere. So why not try and find the best? Try and work through and find the best out of what you've got. And there's several songs that we're currently working on where you might say that if one of us had sent across to the others too early, you'd be worried about it. But actually, my way of thinking is if Jed or Digby send me something, I'm going to use that and I'm going to try and do something with it.
Yeah.
And that's why some of this stuff survives.
And is that sort of what plays a component in between the timing for releases? Because, there's there's a bit of a gap. And the work is really good. So, revisiting all of it in the run up to this interview, I was like, fuck, this is such a good band. But, there is a little bit of I don't want to say silence, but there's a little bit of, there's some quiet between releases.
We've had some black holes on our schedule because no one tells you that when you're in your 50s, life can get really fucking hard. It's really tough. We're fighting cancer. We're losing parents. You've got the day-to-day grind. The stuff I'm doing today would have tired me out at 29, but I'm just knocking it out every day. Just keep going and keep going, keep plugging. But then when I get time to sit there in front of the computer, there's not a lot left. Weekends are obviously the big thing for me, but these massive life changes, they really threw and continue to throw spanners in the works. I'm making excuses.
I agree with what you're saying there. Life gets in the way, and we've all had, life-changing events actually in the last year. And it's great that through those life-changing events, we can still go back to what have we got on the hard disk? Oh, here, what? Oh, we were doing this. Okay, let's look at this again.
Yeah.
And I think we came to about September this year where we've been doing a lot of bits throughout the year. And actually in our data banks at the moment, we've got, I think, 11 songs, something like that, that are in various states of development, some very advanced. In fact, some already being remixed.
Yeah.
They've gone on hold a little bit while things were happening. And it came to about September. We said, look, we're gonna do some more now, and we're all kind of ready for it. And it was, Digby also signalled he was going to go down to do some vocals, which is always a catalyst. Actually, it always ends up with something that something comes back and we go, bloody hell, that is great. And where we are now is that the I suppose the momentum that we've kind of driven over the last couple of months is now creating an inertia that we'll just hold on to.
Yeah.
So as we go into the new year, there's tons of potential, and I think there's a revisit. You guys are planning another visit down to Florida to do some more lyrics, aren't you? So I think at the end of the day, come let's say March, April next year, I think we'll have the quite a significant advancement on where we thought we were in the middle of this summer. In fact, enough to do that album. And I think, there's also that a bit of fright because we've always kind of compartmentalized our releases into EPs. And an EP is a nice little format because you can write 4 songs, for example, and walk away from that EP saying, I've done that. Whereas an album, there's 2 functions within an album. One, the quality of the product has to be, where you want it to be. But you also have to have a contiguous piece of work. You have to have something that sounds like an album. And so when you're bringing together lots of different ideas, some of those ideas have got to be fit into that kind of plan. And that's where we are now.
Yeah. And just real quick, I want to kind of pick all of your collective brains about this. But I do agree with you when you say that an album has to sort of have a vibe to it, right? Like it needs to be cohesive and have some sort of this is a collection of songs that go together. But I feel like we are sort of slowly moving away from that as the sort of a la carte style of music is being sort of served up of here's a new single and it may sound completely different from the last thing and who cares because it's just existing on its own in a vacuum. Is that a factor when you guys go to work on this project? Do you think about how will this be cohesive for future package, or is the concern at this moment just let's just produce some stuff and let's just make some singles?
Right now we're using it, and if what we do in the US gets tossed over to the UK and the boys like it, great, and they'll keep working on it and toss it back to us, and it just keeps the creative juices flowing because they see something in a track that you would never come up with. And I know there's, going back to your original point about bedroom producers and people that do everything on their own, it's wonderful that people can do that. And that's having full control of the studio and what you're trying to express yourself and how cool you're trying to be with, your approach to a song, an EP, an album. I'm not that far advanced. I can live in the moment. I live in the moment, and if a beat sounds good today and it sounds good tomorrow, then we're going to use it. As far as
I'm in a slightly different place in that if I write a piece of music, okay, it's always going to sound like me in my head, right? So I'm always excited to toss a piece of music over to Jed, for example, and wait for it to start sounding like I think it should be in the Prosector sense, because I will write industrial EBM type music. Jed and Digby come from a combined punk synth background, and that is more in line with the Prosector sound. So it is likely that something I come up with will sound not quite in vein. But then, with recent tracks that I've sent over and Jed's come back with new stuff, I'm blown away by it because it's actually taken the best parts of what I'm doing and then starting to sound in the way that I think he would do it. I still believe in what you say in there, Jed, in that whatever it is, I think there's a specific sound that you guys make over there that we don't do here yet. And I think it shows. And I think it for me, that's part of the excitement of being in the band, because it's oh, right, that's where it should be going. That's great. Mm-hmm. That's for me, yeah.
The way we see it, Jules, is God, I can't wait for Andy to get his guitar on this.
Yeah.
I'm using synths and I'm trying to create chords and progressions, things that will grow and build, hopefully, or something interesting on the ear. And all I think of the whole time is, God, I hope Andy can pull this out of the fire. Andy, how do you feel when something lands on your doormat?
Yeah, I love it. You know, I've always like anything that you send over. You know, even it's just a basic drum and a bit of a bass synth line. Yeah, so the process normally for me is I kind of work out some of the notes and the note progression, and then loop a section, and then just sort of play some chords, guitar over it, and see what falls out. I must play it. Maybe I'm playing the same loop for half an hour. And then something comes out, it's really good, and I'll record it. But for some reason, I don't like it, and I'm always reluctant to send it over. But what I kind of do is, if I leave it a day or two, and then I switch the computer back on and I listen back to what I recorded, which at the time I didn't like, but then I suddenly think, oh, actually, that's pretty good. And it doesn't sound like me. So many times I've done that. I send you over something that I recorded about 2 days before. And yeah, it's great fun. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's quite often that Andy will work on something and it will fundamentally change the direction of the song again.
Oh,
you know, because, you know, some of those riffs are so mind-blowing. We'll take those riffs and we'll create new synth lines underneath them, or change the beats, you know, or even change the structure of the song because it's driving it. And I think Winter, this single, is one of those tracks, you know, where it could have gone two ways. You know, it could have gone a kind of, you know, EBM-y, synthy, beaty thing. But actually, with Andy's guitars on top, with this particular single, we've really amped them up.
Yeah.
We've really pushed them to the front because they were so fundamentally great.
Yeah, for sure. And understand, like, it makes sense, right? Like, sometimes the guitar riff is so sick that it cannot be denied. And okay, so it sounds like there's an album in the works and in the near future. Is that safe to assume?
Yeah, we've got 11 tracks in various stages. Like Jules said, Digby's going to come down in the new year. He's got a sack full of lyrics. Oh, my God. I don't know. I'm really enjoying going through all the takes he did he came down in November and sang on 4 tracks. Was it November, Diggs?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he sang 4 tracks and he wasn't happy with a lot of it. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is pure fucking gold.
He's the worst person to sing in front of because he'll go, all right, that one was great. Just do another one. Yeah, that's the one. We're done. Just do another one. And so I end up doing 50 takes. But they're all really good, apparently. Horrible.
I mean, it must be nice to be in a band with, like, your biggest fan, you know, who's just like, you're fucking great. You killed it.
Yeah, but I can't tell him that because then he'll stop trying.
Try and get the best out of him.
Yeah, but I tell you what we're hearing now from the US is, you know, it's turning it around again for us in England because, you know, we've heard little snippets of what they've been doing. You know, they've not given us everything yet. They're hiding it behind the fog of war. But actually, what we've heard so far is that was worthwhile. That was a worthwhile trip. And actually, we know we can do so. I definitely know we can do something with what they're doing. But actually, inside those 11 songs, I would say that they are up at that standard that we're looking for, and the standard that anybody that knows us would expect us to produce, to be fair. And now the focus is back on creativity. And in every time we hear something new coming back from Jed and Digby, it sparks that off again. And Andy will come over and do some work over here and do some work at home, and you know we'll turn it around back to those guys. So it's the album is going to come out. It will be partly what you'd expect, partly not, but it will be at that kind of quality level, and it will be pretty raw sounding. You know, all of the tracks are, you know, they retain that kind of punk DIY ethic.
We got some pace now as well. The legs. Oh my God, every song has legs.
Yeah. I was going to say, you definitely, that is kind of the vibe for the band, is that sort of like electro punk sort of feel to a lot of what you're producing. So, I mean, that's kind of what I would expect. Excited to hear what comes next from you. This latest single is fantastic. Like, I was blown away, quite honestly. It was just like a sonic assault that I wasn't quite prepared for. I just was like, man, this is so good and so head and shoulders above other things that are being produced in our scene right now. That I did kind of find myself going like, man, why are more people not talking about Der Prosector? But
is it because we only write a song every 2 years?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's
right. That's a fair point.
Is that a thing you think might change in the future? Like, I know there's an album on the horizon, but would you, I mean, I'm sure ideally you would all love to spend more time on this project, but, yes. Is that the reality?
I think the reality right now is we're all really juiced up on this single, and we have a bunch of beyond demos that we're continuing to chip away at. Like I say, once Digby comes down, then that really seals the deal in some songs. But I got 4 songs that he's recorded that I need to wade through and get all those takes. It sounds very clever when I'm sitting here producing him and saying, just one more. That's it. That's perfect. Let's do it again. And, but in reality, and now I've got to sit here through 100 hours of the same lyrics. We're on a roll, I think. And every time I say this, the band crashes. But we're on a roll. This is going to get done.
I've got a theory, and that theory is to just use the second take.
Yeah.
Just use the second take.
From now on. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
When it gets to that 57th take, it gets a little bit tiresome.
Yeah. That sounds like way too much.
We need to use our time better.
Sure.
I don't care. I still blame Digby.
Well, all I've got to do is get on a plane, come down, shout, go home.
I mean, well, I don't want to keep you all too long, so I will go ahead and hit you with the last question of the show, which is just, what is something that you have been enjoying recently? And your answer can be anything. A book, a movie, a TV show, your dog. Just what's something that you wake up and you are jazzed about?
I'm going to need a minute. Well, it's not Huddersfield Town, I can tell you that. My son absolutely rocking it at university.
Nice. That's so good. What is he going to school for?
Environmental engineering in North Carolina State.
Nice.
Hey, dude, we love you, man. You're awesome.
Yeah, for sure. That's exciting.
And he's also doing he's also making his own music. He's following in his uncle and dad's footsteps. He's writing his own music. Yeah, he's doing really well.
Is he Jed Denton's nephew?
Yeah, is he Jed Denton's nephew? Oh my God.
I say yeah, but I keep getting told by my entire family that I'm adopted.
That's good. How far along in his degree is he? Like, is he close to graduate?
Finishes at Christmas.
Nice. Congratulations.
And my wife just told me he's been offered a job.
And look at you producing an offspring. He is successful in their own right. Good job.
Thank you.
What else you got, guys?
Andy, what are you enjoying, man? What are you into?
The quiet one in the back. Man of few words. Yeah, so yes, I've had to trying to think. It's difficult, the whole world is a bit of a upside down, you could say. But anyway, just recently, well, I say a few a month or 2 months ago, I bought Interstellar. It's a film on Blu-ray. I watched it years ago. A really great sci-fi film, and I've had a few evening. I'm sort of on my own at the moment, so I sort of had a bit of a quiet time, and I managed to watch it last night. And it's a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it. It's very. I mean, I don't know any of you know that film, Interstellar.
I'm a sci-fi person, and it's a thing that I normally would have sat and watched by now already, but I just for some reason have not.
It's so amazing. I won't give anything away if you haven't seen it, but when I first saw it, I was blown away, and I thought, cracky, and I've actually gone and bought it. As I say, to keep, and it's taken me 2 months to actually sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed it. It's a great film. I recommend. Anyway, it's good fun. Good fun.
I will take this as the urging I need to actually sit and watch it, because it's
sort of an intelligent, sort of thought-provoking. It's not just people, nothing like aliens and shooting or anything like that. And a little bit of time travel involved, and black holes and wormholes and all that sort of thing. Really good.
Yeah, I can get down on that for sure. Okay. The nudge I need to actually put my mind to doing it. Because that happens to me frequently of like, a dozen people will be like, this is really good. You should watch it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this checks all the boxes for me of like, I definitely should sit and do this. But, life happened.
It was kind of to do with music that led me to this film because Hans Zimmer did the music.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched a concert video of him in Prague. And he played the music from Interstellar. I'd never seen the film before, not even heard it, but the music was so good. I thought, and then I ended up seeing it on some streaming site. And I thought, I'll watch it because of the music. And then the music made more sense to do with the film. What's your favorite sci-fi movie, by the way, Brian?
I'm actually going to say, I would have to say Blade Runner 2049.
The later one.
Yeah, the later one. Like something about it. Like I love the original Blade Runner, but the sequel just sort of dialed in on a lot of the themes and stuff that I just find myself sort of meditating on for long periods of just like, what does it mean to have these feelings? What does it mean to love? What does it mean if the love you're getting is not real? What if it is artificial? What is, and just sort of all those questions of existence that I think are going on kind of in the background of that. Yeah. I'm just such a sucker for like a deeper meaning of like, why are we doing this bullshit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. But I'm gonna watch Interstellar now, based on your recommendation. I'm firmly on the docket. What about you, Jed?
There's a film that I've watched a few times, A Dark Song, and it's the film that should have been the Constantine movie. It's as close.
Familiar.
It's so close to Hellblazer, way more so than any of that cartoonish comic book shit. I'm not bitter.
Is this the movie where the guy, it's like a guy and a woman and they go out to the house and he's like,
they perform a ritual because she has a
excellent
request. And it's the most effective use of a house and two people. You know how Breaking Bad was just two guys shouting at each other on a couch?
Yeah.
It's got all of that, but it's more compelling for much deeper, darker, soul-searching kind of reasons. And at the end, I don't care. Every time I see the ending, I weep like a fucking newborn.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a unique experience, that film.
Okay. I've seen it before, but only once. But your praise has sort of rekindled my spark in it. Like I feel like I need to revisit it because it's like one of those things that like when someone else appreciates it sort of like in a way that's different from you, you're like, oh shit, hold on, let me rewatch it.
Maybe you missed something, mood or,
Yeah, exactly. It's a what did I miss kind of a feeling.
Yeah.
Because I've met people who have watched Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid, and they were like, it was kind of boring. And I'm like, ooh, no. What I said, I was like, my God, I had to immediately go to sleep when that movie was over because I just was so stressed out. Like, so yeah, I can definitely appreciate like when someone else's color and their perception of a film is so much stronger than my own. I'm like, okay, what did I miss?
Yeah. It's the passion, isn't it? The thing I'm really enjoying more than anything right now is there's a UK band that have been around since the mid-70s called Cardiacs. Mm-hmm. And they're the best band you've never heard of. And they just released an album after, I think, what is it, Diggs? 17, 18 years in the making. The guy who Cardiacs, at the center of Cardiacs was Tim Smith. And he wrote 14 songs around 2006, 2007. And then he had suffered a massive stroke and heart attack and left him in a terrible way where he couldn't perform or write or do anything. Mm-hmm. It was so heartbreaking. We lost him in 2020. We lost him to COVID.
Yeah.
And the rest of the band members, and there have been quite a few over the decades, came together. And they've taken all his old tapes that he recorded in 2007 and they've worked it into literally one of the best albums I've ever heard in my life. And I must have played it 200 times now.
Yeah.
And I'm still analyzing it. I'm still learning from it. Just listening to it, you can feel your intelligence grow and your empathy grow. It's ridiculous. It's the most sublime album I've heard in the last few decades. Absolutely perfection. The album is It's LSD by Cardiacs. And no matter what scene you're into or how regimented you are in your listening taste, you will take something major away from that double album.
I'm going to have to visit with it. Although you mentioned it was the best band I've never heard of. I thought Der Prosector was the best band I've ever heard of. But
Sorry that, mate. I wouldn't even think it, but...
What do you got going on, Jules? What's something you're enjoying right now?
I think for me, the variety of what I'm doing at the moment, I kind of spend my time kind of between producing other bands, and it really is a rewarding process where, you know, I'll get tons of stems, and from those stems we'll produce something that sounds half decent, and that's a real kick. But actually then I can switch off, and then I'll go out with my dog and spend time with my dogs, and that's proper kind of come down. Musically, I'm massively into Sigur Rós at the moment. I'd spent some time in Iceland, and I kind of heard them when I was there, and I'd come back, and then they'd come out with their album Tack, and I bought this album in the UK, and I listened to it for months, and then I put it down, and I never listened to them again. Middle of last year, I picked them up again and booked some tickets to see them in London. And I was completely and utterly blown away by their performance. They'd come on just as, not acoustic, but they'd come on as a sort of stripped down version of the band, but with an orchestra around them. And they were able to do some of the work that they had produced in the studio with lots of different instrumentals and whatever it was. But they'd been able to produce it for the first time in their careers. And they kind of premiered some songs that were 20, 30 years old in these performances. And it was one of those gigs where, you know, you sat there and you look around the audience, and there's not a single person talking to another person. Everybody was focused on the band. And this is a big venue I was in as well. It's Royal Albert Hall. And it was an absolutely mind-blowing experience. And it's kind of led me back down that route of actually, what were they doing? Experimental kind of orchestral, electronic, you know, bow guitared, distorted, everything. And, you know, again, it's one of those things where you just sit there and think the musicianship in this production is just stunning. But the actual feeling behind the songs, once you understand what they're about, and of course I've had to learn a few Icelandic expressions, but actually what they're doing is extremely deep. And it just kind of resonated with the life that I've got at the moment. And so I'm really digging that. My main, I suppose, the thing that gets me out of bed is knowing that there's something to do production-wise. There's something that we can improve for somebody or make sound better. You know, so that's really me. Yeah.
Nice. I always answer the question myself. A good answer. Sigur Rós is a band that after being exposed to, I immediately was like, okay, I can definitely appreciate the musicianship that's going on with this. Reminded me of a sort of Icelandic Godspeed You Black Emperor in some way.
Yeah.
I always answer the question myself, so the thing I've been enjoying recently, just to sort of go along with your answer of just quality music, the new release from Holy Water is just a solo project. This guy, Jake, from Sacramento, and he just is doing sort of a Nine Inch Nails, Depeche Mode kind of a thing, all while being, you know, used to be in hardcore bands, used to be in like metal bands and punk bands and stuff, but now he's, you know, a 50-something, looks like a biker dad, but you know, comes out and like does a Cure cover and like just, you know, sings sad boy shit, which I like. Nice. I'm a sad boy shit kind of a person myself. So really been enjoying that, and just, you know, hearing music that's authentic. I feel like we're just so inundated these days with like music that's just kind of whatever, that to hear something that has a message, and the message is, you know, trying to be conveyed and is being insisted upon, I think is refreshing to just have something that like really is trying to, here's the message, like fucking listen. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for your time. This has been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate your time very much. I'm definitely looking forward to the next thing you release. I've been enjoying my time with everything made so far. This has been such a pleasure, such a treat. Thank you all so much for your time.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your evening or day, and I'll let you know when this goes out, probably next month.
Beautiful.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brian.
All right.
Cheers, Brian.
Celebrate in the next couple of weeks. Have a fantastic time.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful holiday and a terrific new year, and take care, and I will be in touch. Cheers.
Yep.
Bye.
Take care, mate.
Void Signal intro and outro courtesy of Processor. Visit processor2.bandcamp.com for more Processor, and visit voidsignal.net to help support the creation of more Void Signal. Stay safe, stay loud.